Hi, right back to it. So we just got our 5 o'clock close. That's our daily close, and that's our 4 hour close, and that's our hourly close. So let's just take a look at that. This was the major trend line that we had drawn. However, on this chart, I've also drawn this minor trend line can kind of be extended to be like this, and it's still reasonable, still makes sense. But I just wanted to note that real quick. Um, let's take a look at how everything closed. So, our 4 hour candle, we did end up getting that smallish inside bar, and it is kind of an inverse hammer, which indicates some sort of selling pressure to the upside. Um, Also, we of course have the selling pressure to the upside here as well. So that trade of potentially taking a short underneath this, um, a short underneath a small bar at the top of a trading range, maybe makes a little bit of sense. I don't think I will take it, to be honest. But it might end up being, it might end up actually being the correct trade. But I don't have too much. I don't have too much experience with these types of trades on a particularly huge outside bar. So I don't think this is going to be the time that I decide to take this trade. But I will say that from a risk to reward perspective, it is a pretty reasonable. It is pretty decent in that your stop is not too big, about 1%, and can probably target at least 1%, maybe a percent and a half, maybe more. But it is all trading range activity, so those are a little bit more difficult to navigate because you never know when it's gonna start chopping and reversing and etc. So I'm not going to be taking that trade, but that is theoretically a trade that you could take. Um, that's on the 4 hour chart. We do kind of seem to be having this bull flag forming kind of thing. Um, Maybe you could draw it this way. Maybe you could draw some sort of triangular structure. Um, Maybe you just say we have a double bottom bull flag here, and we've had 2 attempts down, and we've now had a pump off of this low, confirming this low, and then a retest of it, and so this is your pullback. So technically on this 15-minute time frame, could maybe consider throwing up a long like this, above this level, stop underneath here. Since it's close enough, you can just put the stop underneath here, and probably looking for, I would think, yeah, if we're going to resolve this to the upside, like if we're going to resolve this to the upside, not unreasonable to take 64,000. This is probably a trade I would be more into taking than the other one. I do have a bunch of things to do right now, so I'm not going to be taking this one either. Got to sit this one out, but this is also a trade that you can take. Above this, you would already be filled here, right? And a little bit trapped. If you haven't entered yet, you can put it above this bar, such that if we penetrate this region again, you feel pretty confident that this is now a green bar to the upside. Presumably, after shaking all of this off, we might be getting closer to 5:30 when the candle will close. So if we can kind of pump it up here and then the following bar be a push through this this diagonal region, definitely a trade that is considerable. Otherwise, maybe looking for some sort of failure here on this like little flag and having a deeper dip. I think that's what you're kind of looking for on that small bar short, and then probably chop, 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 and maybe you get to this level here. Maybe you have to wait until it comes back almost nearly to your entry before you get an opportunity there. That's tough to say right now. You're going to have to watch to see how things play out in that direction. But this is basically your setup for if you want to take a long here or if you want to take a short here. These are kind of the ideas. And we can also get into a little bit more evaluation of why you might be taking these setups. So Here we kind of have this kind of trend line that we broke on this, getting a retest, a test of this area, and if we seem to be holding here, bears, as in fact, am I mistaken? Or no, this is actually an inside bar. Okay, I thought this actually was a low one. So this is an inside bar. This is almost an outside bar, not quite an outside bar, but very flaggy, right? Basically, what bears are looking for is for this to be kind of a small bar, and then the same kind of thing. We short below this bar with a stop on the other side of this bar, and hope to continue down this way, following this trend line break here, right? Like I said earlier, we could kind of draw this trend line to even fit this way. So maybe we're not quite there yet, breaching this trend line, but this is kind of the bearish thinking, decision making, right? Like you could have drawn this earlier. This is kind of a double top, and so I'm going to push down. Conversely, this is a double top. So this region should have stops on the other side of it, right? If we, in fact, are able to continue to push upwards, all shorts in this region, anybody that has taken a short in this area, or even in this area, and is still holding on, is probably going to have a stop above this level or this high, right? So if we can breach this area, decent chance that shorts will have to liquidate and we might continue to push higher. And like we were saying earlier, this, though it trapped some shorts in, more importantly, it trapped a lot of longs out. So if we were able to clear this level and break the shorts stops, the shorts, all those sellers will become buyers, and all of the buyers who got stopped out here and are waiting to get re-entry at a better, opportunity. And the psychology of traders is going to be like, oh, my entry was here, so I'm going to wait until we get down to here, and then I'm going to even have a better entry, and this loss is not even going to count, right? All of those people who are waiting for lower, better prices are going to have to buy up here when they recognize that, hey, these shorts are getting stopped out and I'm still trapped out. And so all of the longs who were hopeful longs in this area, in, I guess, mainly this region, right, who are getting long here and then probably got stopped out, they're going to have to re-enter above here, higher, and higher. So this is kind of exactly the ideal situation for longs, would be to breach this higher low. And so it's all going to start with however bulls will draw their trend lines. This is a nice trend line drawn, such that we want to break above here. There's going to be this line here that says you're kind of at resistance right now, so don't be buying here. Wait until we get a clean break above this area. Of course, we have our nice support down here, and we have even more rising-ish support, hopefully. So a lot of different lines, trend lines and trend channel lines, and resistances and supports that you can draw here. But the main point is to know that we are in trading range, but we are kind of looking bullish right now. We do have a nice support at this level, and we do have a decent setup here. This was really the setup here, had a good follow through. This was not a good follow through from this follow through, but this was a decent enough break. And if you entered on this bar and put a stop underneath this bar, your stop has not been run yet. Certainly your stops under here and here have not been run either. But I think if you're getting long, pretty reasonable to have a stop underneath here. And I think a lot of traders will be doing that, hence why it makes a lot of sense to take a short underneath this bar, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? It's a small bar, there's limited risk, and all of the bull stops are underneath this level, especially knowing that if you don't put a stop underneath this level, it's almost a no man's land for up to 4%. And here we don't really have it's kind of no man's land until here. This is the last real support where we had a pullback. It's a full percent, so it doesn't make sense to have stops anywhere other than here, anywhere other than under this level. So I think that's what we would be looking for on these now lower time frames. If you're really trying to look for aggressively for a potential long, we had this kind of trend line, hard to draw, broken down here, take a pump to the high, looks like it might be making a double top and pushing downward. I mean, this area, kind of an expanding triangle looking like. Not particularly bullish, I wouldn't say. I would think this is probably a little bit more bearish. Like probably this level may not get breached, and traders might be short from here. Potentially you can even enter here and go down, and this is your stop up here. And then we're looking for a test of, bears would really like to break this low off of the double top, right? And if bears can break this low, there's a much better chance of taking this region, taking these stops, these stops, these stops. Much higher chance of breaking down into this region and potentially even pushing back down towards the lows. But that's 1 minute time frame, and you know how the 1 minute time frame goes. Almost nothing that you think is going to happen happens, and here we are already pushing towards the highs off of let's count this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So theoretically a 5-wave expanding triangle, and usually after this 5th wave, there's going to be market acceptance, and everybody's going to be kind of on the same page as we push higher and higher and higher now. And now we would expect 2 legs up, unless there's going to be another thing on the other side of this bar, and it's actually going to be like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, you know the freaking deal, you know the vibes, 5, and then push downward. That's why expanding triangles in particular are so tough to read. And the other thing is, sometimes the expanding triangle will go for even longer than 5, up to 9 or something, before we have any sort of resolution. So those are tricky to trade. Probably just not looking to trade these on this 1 minute time frame. Probably rather look at 3 or 5 minute time frame if you really want to do low time frame scalping / trying to find a precision entry. And on this 5 minute time frame, we're printing an outside up bar after this is an outside, right? Outside is usually when you know that you have an expanding triangle, and you kind of need to just be patient and wait for the resolution of that expanding triangle, so as to not get chopped up. So, this is certainly looking nice, right? Like pretty strong. We've already broken above this last 5 minute high. Maybe looking to take a shot at these highs, and if we take a look at our trend line that we've drawn this way, we're kind of firmly on the other side of it. Not that firm, but we kind of had a retest and a pump out of the thing, and we had a really strong close, closing on exactly its high. This candle closed exactly on its high. That's a 15-minute candle, that's a 30-minute candle, that's a 5-minute candle, that's a 3-minute candle. All of these candles have just closed on their high. Maybe even I don't think it's a 45-minute candle, but all these candles have just closed on their high. That's pretty strong. And we're now on the other side of this, possibly looking for a pump upward. I kind of like it, actually. I'm kind of getting compelled to maybe just throw in a little trade here, small sizing, and just let it rock. But we'll see about that. I'll just evaluate that after I finish this thing. But yeah, as far as looking for a pullback goes, we have one leg down, second leg down, and this is your entry bar right here for a pump. So if you miss that, just put a stop up here above 63.1, get 63.160, 63.170, and could fill and look for obviously your stop is here, like we said. looking for at least this, but honestly, if this is going to go up, I wouldn't be surprised to see it continue even higher, especially off of the strength of this wick and all of the traders that have been trapped out of this long trade and some into their shorts. But yeah, let's take a look at the daily. We're going to do that. Yeah, so this is just kind of a weird close. Like, it's just a trading range close. Like, very clearly, they didn't want us to pump out of here just yet. So that's not very strong. That's not particularly strong. This candle with a lot of strength, if it was really as strong as we thought it was, the very next candle would be just as big, and it was just as big, but it wouldn't overlap it very much at all. It would be a push to the highs. So yeah, not really. This is not really what we're looking for when it comes to sustainable pushes. Like, this is looking more like maybe a 1, 2, 3 pushes up kind of thing, and then another rejection. This certainly isn't like impulsive. This is just kind of a channel. So yeah, maybe we look to buy the low of the channel, sell the high of the channel around the 65,000 area, but I don't think we are at this moment, especially since this low got taken and this did end up closing as a red bar, even though it's kind of a hammer pin bar, however you want to call it. We shouldn't, like, bulls shouldn't have allowed all this to happen. So I don't think that this is particularly impulsive. I think it's a reasonable, like, ABCD, is that what it's called? Pattern, or like looking for a third push-up kind of thing, like maybe a wedge kind of thing forms. I could see that happening. I could see a wedge forming here, kind of like this. Maybe something like this. Hard to say. It's too early really to draw. All we can really draw is that we know for sure is we have kind of a trend channel line here, and we kind of have a trend line down here, and it's mostly parallel. So I think we're probably looking to stay within the channel, buy towards the low of the channel, sell towards the high of the channel, around 65. That's still been the target that we've been looking at since we picked up our long over here. 65 was the target all along. So now it coincides with the top of this channel that we seem to be respecting, right? So actually, this is giving me a little more clarity. I think, yeah, we're probably more looking to play the ends of the channel. We're kind of in the middle of the channel, so because we have a decent setup on the lower time frames, it makes sense to maybe take something like this. But otherwise, maybe we're looking for that bearish shot and pick something up towards the bottom of the channel and take that up to 65K. Did we do a 1 hour candle analysis? I'm not sure if we did. This 3 hour candle ended up closing as not an outside down bar. Close, almost an outside down bar. Certainly a second chance entry for the short. But again, just like this time, the short never triggered. So bears have two short signal bars, but not a single one of them has triggered. And I think usually that means that we're probably more likely to go upward. But I think it still makes sense to have a trade under this if you're a bear and just wait for it to collapse through and then probably take profit around this region. So yeah, that's it's kind of the look for right now, and we'll see how things go.